Might as well while you're here. First giving honor to God tonight. I pray everybody feels alright. I didn't come here to sing, but they said the MC is calling my name. Let me get myself together. Throat's a little scratchy, been under the weather. I can't make no excuse. I believe I feel Holy Ghost moving. My Jesus has been good to you. Let me hear you clap your hands. If Jesus never been there for you, sit there and fold your arms. I know Jesus. 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 Oh, I know Jesus. I know Jesus. I know Jesus. I know Jesus. Oh, I know Jesus. Wait a minute. Y'all please hold on. I feel my help coming on. Lord, even if you don't stay long, just rock with me while I sing this song. We've got to enter into his gates with thanksgiving. Ooh, and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him and bless his name. My Jesus has been good to you. Let me hear you clap your hands. If Jesus never been there for you, sit there and fold your arms. I know Jesus. I know Jesus. Hey, I know Jesus. I know Jesus. There's a mighty good friend. I know Jesus. Hey, I know Jesus. I know Jesus. Oh, I know Jesus. I know Jesus. Hey, I know Jesus. Yes, I know Jesus. Jesus. I know 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 Jesus. He knows my name. I know Jesus. I know Jesus. So glad I know it. Where would I be without him?
What's good?
He came and got me.
How
He
y'all
came
doing?
and got me. I know Jesus. I know Jesus. Good to know him. I know
So good
Jesus.
to see y'all here.
I know Jesus.
here
Glad
this
he
morning.
knows my every thought.
Y'all know today's supposed to be like Pastor's Day off, but I was just tapped with something while I was cleaning up, man. While I was doing some other things, trying to relax. But I'm like, Lord, I need to get this out of my spirit so these people can hear exactly everything that's going on with me right now. Not really just what's going on with me, but how I process situations, how I process stuff. Because honestly, truthfully, I really don't think what I have to say is all that important. And that's just the honest truth. I just be in the world, being in my life, doing me and trying to be everything that God has created me to be. I don't think myself to be so important to people to where what I have to say really just matters, right? As part of my issue, I think, is I really don't see the me that people see. And that's just the truth of the matter. If you really know me, if people really know me, they'll be able to tell you the same things. So sometimes I have to be reeled in on some things because I'm like, oh, okay, so they took it this way, or they took it that way. But with life, boy, you learn. With life, you really, really, really learn. I'm gonna check comments real quick to see who's all in here, to see if you guys are here. If you can hear, I'm quite sure. Oh, okay. Well, somebody's already responded, so obviously you can hear me. So listen, Lord, I just pray that what you give me in this second, in this hour, in these few minutes can be effective in somebody's life. If you, in fact, know a leader, a pastor, a young pastor especially, please tag them right now. Anybody that's in leadership, I need you to tag them right now, because we are getting ready to tap into something that is like, yeah, you want to be different? I'm going to show you how to be different. I'm going to show you how to be focused and seem to be unfazed, but you may not necessarily be unfazed, because God is a God. He has a plan. He has a plan, and every plan that he has will bring you to what Jeremiah 29:11 says. It brings us to an expected end. Now, it doesn't specify whose expectations, right? We have our own expectations, but God's expectations are maybe, they are totally different than ours most of the time, because he says in his word, my ways not your ways, neither are my thoughts your thoughts. We are so far apart in the way that we think. This is what God is saying. So don't try to figure me out. Just have faith and follow me. That's what he's telling us to do right now here today. So I want to jump right into this real quick. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're probably bouncing and bobbing your head, but I need you to focus, Daniel's son. Focus. Listen, what we have going on today is saying simply, people leave, and that's okay. And that's just something that I've always said, and that's okay. I literally have to tell myself, and that's okay. Because sometimes what happens is we bring people, when people come to our lives, we actually feel like everybody that comes to our lives are supposed to stay there until we're ready for them to go. Oh yeah, until we're ready for them to go. When in actuality, the book of Ecclesiastes speaks a lot, and Ecclesiastes says something very important. It says, to everything there is a season, right? Which means every relationship that you have is seasonal. It's seasonal. Now, it may be seasonal from the aspect of you go through certain things together in a particular season, but it doesn't always mean that the relationship ends. It just means that there will be changes in the relationship. And where my mind went today is just in a lot of things. And I can only speak from a pastoral standpoint, and you take it however it fits into your life. But just speaking from a leadership aspect, from a pastoral aspect, from a leader, one of the hardest things to do is to, let me put it like this. What a lot of people don't realize from a pastoral aspect is that every time a person or persons remove themselves from the ministry, the pastor goes through a grieving process. Yeah, it's that serious. A pastor goes through the grieving process, because my dad told me this a long time ago when I first started pastoring, and he shared something with me. He said, when people leave, whether they're leaving the ministry or whether they pass and go on to glory, he says the pastor has to deal with that absence every day, because the pastor knows where that person was when they got there. The pastor knows the problems that person had when they first came. The pastor knows the impact of that person. The pastor knows so many different things about that person. The pastor knows possibly that person's birthday. The pastor knows all of that person's children. The pastor knows what type of illnesses that person may or may not have. The pastor knows where that person would sit every week. So it's like the people that are in the congregation only have to deal with it one time, to whereas the pastor has to deal with it with everybody that comes and goes. And one thing that in learning that and hearing that and accepting it as some sort of a grieving process, what God has allowed me to do from a leadership aspect is to And it's really hard because when you become emotionally attached to people, it's hard to release people that you are emotionally attached to, but sometimes your emotions can keep them in position longer than they should be. Right. This is why when God starts dealing with the ministry, he starts dealing with the church. He in First Timothy, he is telling the men of God, he said, how can you manage my church if you don't rule your own home? Right. He is basically saying in that scripture that notice you manage the church. You don't rule it. Meaning that the things that happen within the four walls of the church, yes, as the overseer, but you cannot ever forget that the church belongs to God. And so what happens with me, God has me open to the people that he brings into the ministry. And he brings them into the ministry. And I know in my spirit that there's always a possibility that their season may come to an end. And when it's time for them to possibly navigate out, sometimes people stay past their season. And when they stay past their season, they have to make up a bunch of stuff in order for them to leave. One thing we have to stop doing is everything doesn't have to be dramatic, right? Leaving and being moved somewhere, we don't always have to fall out. Oh my God. We don't always have to fall out in order for a move to be made. That's a learned behavior that when it's time to make a move somewhere, we have to create mess in order to get the power that we need in order to go somewhere else. We have to create a storm. And that's not the will of God, because he has the right to speak and to shift and to move. Okay. So from a leader's aspect, understand that God does not even need a leader's permission before he moves upon the people that he has placed under the leadership. Now, here it is. If God has led the people to the ministry or in your life, you have an indication in your spirit when it is time for them to leave. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. When you are a leader, you know when a season is changing. So don't ever think for anybody that's in here, if you're under any type of a leadership, don't think if God sent you there, God did not stop speaking to the leader of the ministry when it pertains to you. Now, whether the leader's listening or not is one thing. But if God sent you there, God is going to feed that leader what's necessary in order for you to either grow and be, and if your season is there only for a short period of time, he's going to feed them what you need for that short period of time. Now, as leaders, we've got to stop being so attached to people to where when God moves on their heart and that it's time for them to move forward, we start having a pity party. And I've seen it before. Out of all the things I've done, they just go up and leave. Bro, says, hey, if the season is over, the season is over. See, corporate America has this thing called exit interviews. And an exit interview, well, it allows you to leave the right way. And I think that's where a lot of us we get messed up in. It was when we leave a situation, we want to blow it up. And that's not God's way of doing things. When God is moving a person, when God is moving certain situations, when he's putting pieces into places, number one, he doesn't need permission. He just needs participation. And sometimes our emotions and our feelings, number one, can keep us in a place past the season, or it could keep us going after people that God have moved out of the way. Now, I'm just tapping into possibly my younger pastors. I need you to understand that people leave, and that's okay. What you have to do is make sure that for whatever reason they're leaving, you're not the cause of it, or you haven't addressed whatever needs to be addressed, because you want to be able to sow into people, and then those that are, it's time to move forward, have a hand in what it is that they're doing, because God has shown you which direction they need to go into. Now, granted, there will be people that's going to believe they heard God louder than you as it pertains to their life, and they're going to tell you that God told them it was time for them to go, and when they leave, they won't even want to talk to you no more. Bro, that is going to happen. And you will, and don't wreck your brain wondering what you did wrong, especially if you believe in your heart that you did everything the way you were supposed to do. You're never going to meet the standards that people have for you. Okay? You'll never meet, let me help you, as a pastor, you will never meet the standards of what some people will have for you. The best thing you can do is meet the standard that God has for you, because truth of the matter is, bro, says everybody know your job better than you. I say that sarcastically, but you don't argue with that. You don't argue with that. You just make sure that God is pleased with you and you have peace, and you keep your heart clean, because if your heart is clean, your hands will never be dirty. Remember that. If your heart is clean, your hands will never be dirty. I hope you're hearing me here. See, so how does this relate to life? It relates to life because there are times when we hold on to things and we hold on to people past the season, because we have this thing called loyalty. And I'm going to put a tag out here. There's this thing called dysfunctional loyalty. I don't know if you ever heard that before. I don't think I have. Maybe I have, but I feel like I just made that up. But anyway, maybe somebody else said it before, but cool if they did. There's this thing called dysfunctional loyalty, to where you're loyal regardless if something is dysfunctional or not. And that's not a good thing. At some point, when a season has changed, you have to be willing to allow that season to change. You have to be willing to allow that page to turn. And we don't always have to fall out. This is where maturity comes in at. When something has run its course, it doesn't mean that something's wrong. God could be sending me over in this direction, sending you over in that direction. We can still stay in contact, but as long as the water is clear. I hope I'm helping somebody here. Simply because there are times that we can enjoy what God has for us because we're consistently holding on to something that God has told us to let go of. And pause that right there. All right. So let me get back to the leadership aspect of it. You can't control people. I know for me personally, I know when a season has changed in somebody's life, and I can pretty much look at the calendar and tell it's only a matter of time for them to move out of the way. It's only a matter of time for them to move forward. And there have been times when I've gone to people and told them, your season is up. It's time for you to do something else. It's time for you to do something else. And a lot of people they're used to conflict. Not realizing if I keep you on this boat past your season, then every storm that is meant for you is going to hit everybody else because you're out of position. I'm harboring a fugitive. Excuse me. There are people that I can mentor, but that I can't pastor. A lot of people don't get that. There are people that I can mentor that I can't pastor. There are also people that I can mentor and pastor. So that comes with knowing the character and seeking God for the reason why he sent the people there. That's one thing you got to pay attention to. He says, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men, not unto you, but unto me. Think about that. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. Meaning he says, if you lift me up, people are going to be drawn to me through you. But if you continue to lift yourself up and you continue to go grab people and you want everybody that's like you around you, that's why it's hard to pastor a bunch of people that's just like you in every aspect. It's okay to have people in the congregation. Matter of fact, I believe everybody that God sends you got a sprinkle of you. But not the whole congregation is just like you. So when it comes to those seasons that are changing, you have to allow things to develop, allow God to move the pieces around in your life, especially if you've given your time and you've given your life over to him. Okay, pastors, let me plug this for you, is get in the habit. And if you take this any way you can, if you're not a pastor or whatever, if you're a leader, if you're a husband, if you're a wife and you're leading your home, if you're just a good friend, if you're in a turning point in your life, to where you want to hold on to old things, but old things, it's not that it's bad, but it just doesn't move you a certain way. Allow that season to change, and people that care about you and love you will understand that, and they will see that. It doesn't have to be a fallout. Right? So from a pastoral, again, aspect, get into the habit of when people unite with you, seeking God on why that person is there. Okay. And everybody that comes will, more times than none, everybody that comes to the church will tell you that God led them there. Right? They'll tell you that God led them there because they believe that God led them there. It's not for you to determine if God did or didn't. I think that will unfold over time. But even after that, it's time to get down on your knees and say, God, this specific person you sent here. And watch this. God ain't sending you everybody that's cool. God is sending you the type of people that you are equipped to handle. And sometimes the people that he sends you, they gonna give you hell. Literally. But keep in mind that you're equipped to handle it if he sent them. And that's just real talk. If he sent them, he's some people are going to be sent just to challenge you personally. And so as a leader, the people you lead can have an opinion about you, but you cannot have an opinion about them. And that is real hard. That's real hard because, see, that human aspect will kick in. And you have to learn to separate. We have to learn to separate our personal feelings from what thus saith the Lord. Right? Because the people that you lead, that's for anybody in leadership. The people that you're leading, they can say whatever they want to say about how they think about you, who they think you are, what you ain't, and all this other stuff. But as the leader, you can't allow those thought processes to form in the area of the people that you have to lead individually. It's difficult. But when you remember that these are God's people and not yours, you have to be careful how you deal with God's people, especially the ones that do you wrong. You're in that position of leadership. Guess what? That's supposed to happen. But again, I go back and I say a clean heart. This is why a lot of times people don't understand. God looks at the motives of a person. I don't care about the outcome of a thing sometimes. God is looking at the motive of why it started in the first place. Sometimes the outcome of something can be terrible. But God looks at the root and he looks at the motive and say, why did you do that? I'm a firm believer that you can start doing something and out of the goodness of your heart, and then it turns terrible later. And people will sit back and wait because they just saw the outcome. They didn't see the reason why it started. They will wait for the ball to drop on your head. But then they don't like it when God continues to bless you because God looked at your heart. He looked at your heart. But one thing I do know about God is when I've made a mistake and I've erred in judgment, or I've gotten too far and I've gotten too involved with anything or with any one particular thing, God will have me, hey, pay attention to what you did. This time, I know your heart was in the right place. This time, learn from what you did wrong. Learn from the way you did this. Learn from the way you did that. Learn from this and pick up on what you did wrong this time. And try not to repeat that. He is the greatest father. When I tell you he is the greatest father. So now, with that, from a pastoral aspect, love people while they are there and understand that if you are connected with them in the spirit and God sent them and you're praying for them because God has given you something for them, then God will begin to show you how to navigate and where not to navigate. Because you can't pastor everybody collectively. You can have this big body, but you can't just think everything works for everybody the same way. And you can't do it all. Understand, when your ministry begins to grow, or your business or anything begins to grow, you can't do it all by yourself. You have to get help. You have to get help, but the help comes from within the people that you've actually helped nurture and mature to a certain area, right? All right. So that's that. That's that. How else can I help this morning? Yes. Thank you, Lord. When it comes to, from a leader's aspect, or a pastor's aspect, a person's gift and talent should never override their character. Should never override from a pastoral aspect. Meaning that you see things that are going on with them that's completely outside the will of God, but because they're talented, you let those things slide, not really realizing that it's toxic to the ministry that you may have them leading. And God is going to hold you accountable for that. I'm telling you, he's going to hold you accountable for that. I've had people to come to the ministry and they've left because I pastored them. and at that point, it's like, you know what? I'm not impressed with what you can do with your talent or your gift. That's not for me to be impressed with. My responsibility is to make sure that your soul is intact, that you're being healed, that you are being fixed. And here it is. And if you're listening to this and your thought process is, well, what if? I don't know about what if from other people. I'm telling you what David D. Robertson does. Okay. I have to be concerned about your soul. I have to be concerned about your character, your integrity. I have to be concerned about those things because I can't afford for you to come into our ministry and leave out the same. And there are some people that feel as though you don't have the right to that because they're only there to do a certain thing. That may work at other places. Young pastor, I'm trying to let you know now, do not get caught up in the web of trying to have the best keyboard player, trying to have the best band, trying to have the best singers and all of that. That's when you turn your ministry into a market, right? Because it turns into competition. God will send, and it may take a while, and it may not be the people that's all over the place doing a bunch of stuff, but God will send the person that has the DNA for the ministry. And it may not look like everybody else's. It may not be as big as everybody else's, but you deal with the people that God has sent, because God is sending them there, not because he wants your praise and worship ministry to be the bomb. No, he's sending those people there because he needs those people healed. There's some area in their life that you as the leader, you as the pastor have to pour into. Now, I'm going to help you here. And this, you may not like this, but this is just the truth. A lot of people have been hurt in ministry due to leadership or due to pastors that overpromise. Okay? Due to pastors that want something that can't really afford it. And then use the whole, well, you're supposed to be doing this for God anyway. I get that, but bro, if you don't have it in your budget, don't bring it in. Don't negotiate it. You don't bring them in and then say, well, the Lord just gonna make a way. No, you count up the cost first. Because if God sent you the people, he sent you the people that have the mindset to build and that will understand what you can and can't do. This is when the church is in God's hands. If you want to look at that from a corporate aspect, God will send you, if it's his, the people that have the same mindset to help you move forward. And this is for anybody else too that actually works within ministry and stuff like that. Listen, if God has sent you somewhere and you know God has sent you there, and that place is probably unable to take care of you the way you're used to being taken care of, you better sit there and pour into it everything that God has sent you there to pour into it. Because a lot of the time, this is where we are at in ministry now. We want to go somewhere where we can take. Rarely do we want to go somewhere where we have to give. Yeah, we want to go where we can take. There comes a time when you have to give. I'm only telling you what I know, y'all, what I've experienced in my life. Because in order for God to continue to flow the blessings through to your life, we have to be thinking like him. We've got to think like him. And thinking like him does not mean making emotional decisions. Thinking like him is to Jeremiah 29:11 when he says, for I know the plans that I have for you. Look at what he said, 29:11. He says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you. Thinking these thoughts in your direction, says the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not evil, to bring you to an expected end. He expects it to go a certain way. And in order to know what the thoughts of God are, you have to be in unity with him. Hopefully that you're getting that, and that's making sense to you. You have to be in unity with him. Okay? So I pray that somebody receives something today, because as people begin to move and to navigate in and out of your life at some point, that's perfectly fine. And if a person says, the Lord told them their season was up, man, I don't even argue with that. Because eventually what will happen is, if it is God, there will be peace. Right? There will be peace in the whole thing. But if it's not God, they'll find a reason to make it about something else. But even in that, I'm not responsible for how they treat me. I'm only responsible for how I treat them, because there are times when people will exit your life and you will know it's not time for them to exit, but you can't hold them hostage. And I know for me, when people have exited before, God didn't release them out of my spirit. So I continue to pray for them. I continue to fast for them. I continue to intercede for them. But then there comes a season when God says, okay, you've done enough. You are released. There are people that I've been trying to get to come to church for years. Not just to our church, but go to church, period. Get your family together. Your family is going down the wrong path, man. You need to lead your family. You need to get in somebody's ministry and just sit there and learn and soak it up. But people find every reason not to get engaged in ministry. It's like, bro, every church ain't bad. Just like every restaurant ain't bad. You have food poisoning, but you keep going back. The enemy wants you to think this type of way. But what it is, we go into these places with a certain expectation. And when the people that are flawed people don't meet our expectation. Now imagine this, if you went in there jacked up and flawed, there's probably 200 other people that are equally as jacked up and flawed. And this is who you're depending on to help get you right. But when they prove themselves to be people, that's why the faith has to be in God. So seasons. Allow seasons to change. Trust God as that season changes. Keep a clean heart. Then you don't have to worry about dirty hands. And when somebody's walked away from you and walked out your life, if God never shut that door, when it's time for them to return, if they ever return, you allow them to return with a clean slate. There have been people that have walked away and all to come back 2 or 3 years later. It's not our responsibility as a church or as a people say, where you been? No. Thank God you made it back. Good to see you. Are you okay? That's it. So, listen. I pray that this seed that has been sown in you today help you with something, whether it be your parental responsibility, your job responsibility, your church responsibility, anything like that. I pray that it has helped you in some kind of way. All right. So go back and listen to it again if you have to go back and listen to it again. And just start going through your mind that everything doesn't have to be a big fallout. When the season is changed, the season is changed. But just know that when that season is changed, that it is God that is shifting things for you and not you shifting with your emotions. And then don't have so much pride to where if you've made a mistake in judgment, get back where you're supposed to be. Get back where you're supposed to be. Because if God told you to be somewhere, but you can't say that God told you to leave, get back where you're supposed to be until it's time for him to turn the page for you. All right? And if you see people coming back, love on them. Love on them. That's what the body of Christ does. All right. God bless you. God keep you. Pray that everything works out for you today on this Monday. I'm supposed to be chilling, but I had to get that out there to somebody. And I hope it helped. All right. Y'all be good.